If you are a woman over 40 who feels like her body has turned against her, if you are eating less than you ever have, moving more than you think you should, and still watching the scale go up, I need you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because what I am about to share with you is not what you have been told. It is not about willpower. It is not about discipline. And it is not your fault. My name is Dr. Eleanor Whitaker. I have spent over 2 decades working with women navigating the most overlooked hormonal shift of their lives. And in that time, I have seen the same story play out thousands of times. A woman who used to lose weight easily suddenly can't. A woman who hasn't changed a single thing about her diet watches 10, 15, 20 pounds appear, mostly around her abdomen, seemingly out of nowhere. And no doctor she visits can give her a real answer. I want to give you that answer today. But first, I need to ask you something. When was the last time weight loss felt effortless for you? Think about it. Maybe it was your 20s. Maybe even your early 30s. You cut back for a week or two, maybe skipped dessert, walked a little more, and the pounds just came off. Now, you do everything right for weeks and nothing moves. If that sounds familiar, keep watching, because what changed is not you. What changed is your hormones, and no one told you what that actually means for your metabolism. Here is what the mainstream conversation about menopause almost always gets wrong. Most people think of menopause as a reproductive event, the end of periods, hot flashes, sleep problems. And yes, those things are real. But what almost nobody talks about, what I consider the most important and most ignored consequence of menopause, is what happens to your metabolism. Specifically, what happens to the way your body decides where to store fat and whether it will ever let go of it. Your hormones, estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, insulin, are not just mood regulators. They are metabolic commanders. They send signals to your fat cells that determine whether your body is in fat-burning mode or fat-storing mode. And when those hormones shift, which begins as early as your mid-30s, long before most women expect it, those signals change completely. Hormones don't just affect how you feel. They control how your body stores and burns fat. Let me explain what is actually happening inside your body right now. As estrogen levels decline, your body loses one of its primary fat distribution managers. Estrogen historically directed fat toward the hips and thighs, areas that are metabolically safer. When estrogen drops, fat redistributes. It migrates inward. It settles around the organs, what we call visceral fat, and it accumulates in the abdominal region in ways that feel almost overnight to most women. You are not imagining it. The change is real. It is hormonal, and it is happening to millions of women right now who have no idea why. But here is where it gets more complicated, and more important. It is not just estrogen. When estrogen drops, something else happens simultaneously. Your cells become more resistant to insulin. Insulin is the hormone responsible for moving sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells for energy. When your cells stop responding well to insulin, a condition called insulin resistance, sugar stays in your bloodstream longer. Your body responds by producing more insulin. And here is the part that changes everything for weight loss. High insulin is one of the most powerful fat storage signals in the human body. When insulin is elevated, your body is physiologically blocked from burning fat. It doesn't matter how little you eat. It doesn't matter how much you exercise. The metabolic command is store, not burn. This is why the diet that worked perfectly in your 30s will not work the same way at 45 or 52. The rules of your metabolism have genuinely changed. You are not doing it wrong. You are playing a completely different game with tools built for the old one. I also want to talk about something that most weight loss conversations completely ignore: cortisol, the stress hormone. Because in midlife, this hormone becomes one of the biggest hidden drivers of abdominal weight gain, and almost no one is addressing it. Here is why it matters. Cortisol and estrogen have a delicate relationship. When estrogen declines, the buffer against cortisol weakens. Stress, whether it is emotional, physical, or dietary, produces cortisol spikes that, under normal hormonal conditions, your body could manage relatively well. But post-menopause, those same cortisol spikes trigger disproportionately large fat storage responses, particularly in the abdominal area. This means that chronic stress, which most women in midlife are carrying in enormous amounts, is directly feeding the fat accumulation they are so desperate to stop. And here is the part that stops most women cold when I explain it. Dieting itself, especially aggressive calorie restriction, is a cortisol stressor, which means that the harder you try to lose weight through deprivation, the more you may actually be working against your own biology. The very effort is triggering the problem. Does this mean you are trapped? No, absolutely not. But it means the approach has to be different. I want to pause here for a moment because I know what some of you are feeling right now. Relief, maybe, but also something that might feel like grief. Because you have been working so hard. You have been disciplined. You have tried. And perhaps for the first time, someone is telling you that it was never a lack of effort. Your body has been working against your weight loss in a very real, very physiological way. And you deserve to know that a long time ago. Your body is not broken. It is responding to a hormonal environment that has changed, and it needs a different kind of support to shift back into fat-burning mode. And the incredible thing, the thing that gives me genuine hope when I share this with my patients, is that the body is responsive. When you give it what it actually needs at this stage of life, it changes, sometimes dramatically. Women who had not lost a single pound in 3 or 4 years of trying suddenly begin to see results, not because they tried harder, but because they finally aligned with their biology instead of fighting it. There is a link below this video and pinned in the first comment as well. I encourage you to look into it because what you will find there has helped thousands of women who were exactly where you are right now. Women who were exhausted by trying. Women who had given up on their own bodies. It is a natural approach to metabolic support, one that works with the hormonal reality of a postmenopausal body, not against it. No extreme restriction, no punishment, just alignment. I will come back to this in a moment, but first, there is more I want you to understand. Let's talk about the thyroid, because this is another piece of the puzzle that very often goes unaddressed in the standard conversation about menopause and weight gain. Your thyroid is the master regulator of your metabolism. It controls how fast or slow your cells burn energy. And thyroid function is exquisitely sensitive to hormonal changes, specifically the kind of hormonal cascade that happens during perimenopause and menopause, as estrogen fluctuates and eventually declines. Many women develop what is sometimes called subclinical thyroid underfunction, meaning the thyroid is still technically within the normal range on a blood test, but it is operating at the lower end of that range, just enough to avoid a diagnosis, but not enough to keep the metabolism running at the pace it once did. The result is a slower metabolic rate, greater difficulty converting food to energy, more tendency to store rather than burn, and a woman who feels like she is gaining weight on almost nothing. And there is one more layer to this: the gut. Over the last decade, research into the gut microbiome has fundamentally changed how we understand weight, metabolism, and hormonal regulation. The bacteria in your intestinal tract play a direct role in how you process and metabolize estrogen. An imbalanced gut microbiome, which is extremely common in midlife women, partly as a consequence of hormonal change, can actually worsen estrogen imbalance and amplify the metabolic disruption of menopause. Gut health is not a side issue. It sits at the very center of whether your body can effectively navigate this hormonal transition. This is why approaches that only focus on calories or only focus on exercise almost always fail women at this stage. The underlying biological landscape has shifted. The terrain is different, and the map you were given, eat less, move more, was drawn for a completely different territory. Now, I want to say something important, something I say to every woman who comes to see me in this situation. There is a window here, not a door that closes forever, but a window of responsiveness that, if used now, can make an extraordinary difference. Visceral fat, the fat around the organs that accumulates so readily after menopause, is not passive tissue. It is hormonally active. It produces its own inflammatory signals. It worsens insulin resistance. It disrupts sleep. It feeds back into the hormonal disruption that caused the problem in the first place, creating a cycle that becomes harder to interrupt the longer it continues. I am not saying this to frighten you. I am saying it because I want you to understand that acting now, giving your body the support it needs at this particular moment in your hormonal life, is genuinely important, not for a number on a scale, but for your long-term metabolic health, your energy, your cognitive clarity, your cardiovascular health. This is not a cosmetic issue. This is a health issue, and you deserve real information and real support. The women I have seen make the most remarkable recoveries from postmenopausal weight gain are not the women who tried the hardest with traditional diets. They are the women who stopped fighting their biology and started supporting it, who gave their bodies the specific signals it needed to shift out of survival mode and back into fat-burning mode, who understood that this is not a willpower problem. It is a hormonal problem. And hormonal problems respond to hormonal solutions, natural ones that work with your body's own intelligence. So let me be direct with you now, because I think you have earned that directness. Every month that passes without addressing the hormonal root of this problem is a month the cycle has more time to deepen. The metabolic slowdown compounds. The visceral fat increases. The insulin resistance tightens, and the window of responsiveness, while it never fully closes, does narrow over time. The women who are reversing this are the ones who decided that today was the day, not next month, not after the holidays, not when life slows down. Today, the link below this video and pinned at the very top of the comments leads to something that thousands of women who felt exactly like you do right now have already found. Women who spent years trying and failing. Women who had completely given up. Women who are now in bodies that feel alive again, that feel responsive again, that feel like theirs again. This is a natural approach specifically designed to support the hormonal and metabolic reality of the postmenopausal body. Not a crash diet, not a stimulant, a real grounded approach to helping your body remember how to burn fat again. You do not have to keep doing this alone. You do not have to keep wondering why nothing works. The answer is in your hormones, and the support is available right now in the link below. Click it, read what is there, and let today be the beginning of something different. I shared this because I believe you deserve to know the truth about what is happening in your body, not the simplified version, not the dismissive version, the real version, because when women understand what is actually happening, they stop blaming themselves and they start healing. Take care of yourself.